Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. This is the first episode or edition of Learning with Ms. P since our break. This is now 2026. I hope that everyone enjoyed their Christmas and their holiday. I hope that you had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with your friends and family members because I did, and it couldn't have been any better. Let's get started. Another year, right? And we're just going to pick up where we left off. And today I want us to just talk about the basics of understanding ratios. Sit back, relax, and you know Ms. P got you. Okay, so when we are dealing with the basics of understanding ratios, what you really need to make sure that you know is that a ratio is nothing more than comparing two different quantities. So these quantities can be compared three different ways. So it can be written with a colon, it can be written with the word two, and it can be written as a fraction. The way that we would say this particular ratio is that for every 3 squares, there are 5 green triangles. Regardless of how your ratio is written, the first number or the number on the top as your numerator will always represent the first quantity that is being described, and the second number or your denominator is always going to represent the second quantity that you are discussing. And I'll make another video for more clarifications with that. But let's keep moving on. And when we are comparing ratios, you always want to make sure that you have your starting point. So in this case, 3 to 5 would be our starting point with the ratio that we're looking at right now. Also, let's make sure that you understand the vocabulary when we're dealing with the ratio. The quantities and the numbers that we are discussing are called terms. And when we're comparing ratios, it can be compared in two different ways. We can compare ratios as a part to part or part to whole. Let's look at this a little further in more detail. As we discussed, we know that you have to have a starting point. So in the scenario with our squares and triangles, we know that we're starting with 3 squares and we have 5 green triangles. What would happen? How would this ratio change if we wanted to have 10 triangles? Well, because I have 10 triangles, that means I'm going to have a total of 6 squares. Why? Because I have to add, since I added 5 additional triangles, I have to add 3 more squares because the statement is for every 3 squares, you have 5 green triangles. Mathematically, how can we do this? Well, you start with your starting fraction, 3/5. How can I get from 3 to 6? 3 times 2 is 6. Whatever I do to the top, I do to the bottom. 5 times 2 is 10. Let's add another 5 triangles. If I have another 5 triangles, then that means I'm going to have a total of how many squares? Well, let's look at this mathematically. Because I know 5 times 3 is 15, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I did 5 times 3 equals 15, so I have to do 3 times 3, which equals 9. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. So let's expand this particular pattern with these ratios a little bit more. And we're going to draw an additional 5 triangles. So now we have a total of 20 triangles. What is the total number of red squares that I need to have if there are 20? Well, of course, you can see by us drawing the pictures, but mathematically, how does this work? Well, I know that in order to get from 5 to 20, I'm going to multiply the denominator by 4. The rule is whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 3 times 4 is 12, because remember, 3/5 is our starting point with the ratios. Starting with our 3/5, we first multiplied by 2. That gave us 6/10. And you have to multiply the numerator and denominator. Then we multiplied both by 3, which gave us 9/12. Then we multiplied the starting fraction by 4, which gave us 12 over 20. I believe that you are getting the hang of this, so I want you to tell me how many red squares would I have if I had 45 green triangles. Make sure to leave your answers in the comment. All right, guys, so just like that, that is a wrap. That is just the basics of understanding ratios. I know that you got this. Definitely send me an email if you have any questions. My email is listed above. And then lastly, you know what I need you to do. Make sure that you press that subscribe button if you haven't already. Then make sure that you also share this video and give me a thumbs up. Until next time, remember, learning is always as easy as 1, 2, 3 when you're hanging out with your teacher, Miss P. Till next time.